Hello everyone, I'm Garrett Richardson.
And I'm Peyton Burkhammer, and welcome to this episode of Lowdown.
Your source for music, art, and entertainment in Akron and beyond.
On this episode, we've got to look into some great local bands, a campus poetry event, and a museum opening.
Sounds like it's going to be a good time. Let's get into it. Well, let's keep going and check some more great music with your interview.
That's right. This week I got to talk with folk rock band The Crane Wives.
Can't wait. Let's take a look.
Hi, we're the Crane Wives. I'm Dan.
I'm Emily.
I'm Ben.
I'm Kate. We're an indie rock folk band out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. We have a lot of different genres because our sound comes from a lot of different influences.
We started out as a folk band, and then we lost the banjo and picked up electric guitars, and so now the sound is a lot more punchy and electric. But I think that the roots are still within like the songwriting of folk. I think the sound, I like to think the sound has evolved and matured, just in the sense that when we first started writing, that was like 7 years ago, we were all pretty young and new to performing, and so now I feel like when we write music, we automatically start thinking of like how the final composition could be, what it's going to be like on stage. I think that a lot of those components come in, and then beyond that, we've just lived a life over the past 7 years. We've all had like really big challenges and big changes, and so I feel like the topic matter has also evolved as well, from stuff that maybe we hadn't really experienced a lot firsthand to like really, I don't know, significant and personal stories that we're telling.
Emily and I are the main songwriters in this band, and our lives have had these interesting parallels. When we were younger, our first album, for example, songwriting was a huge form of catharsis for us. I think you could find us at our worst writing songs. And over these 7 years, all the changes that Emily mentioned, I think that we've grown, and I think that there's character development there. I think our songs are taking on this positive edge that didn't used to exist.
Like, the journey of the music sonically has gone from, very simple acoustic based in this like more rootsy sound. Then with Coyote Stories and Foxlore, we really just like threw all the paint colors on the canvas and just really explored. And now we're kind of honing it back into this like 4-piece guitar, bass, drums, harmony vocals thing. And so the new songs to me are super exciting to play, and I think it showcases like all 4 of us in our element.
We're kind of road warriors, so generally that just entails us going out on the road pretty much every weekend, and then during the summer it picks up even more, so that we're doing 2 and 3 week tours. When we do release a new album, which will be coming in the future as of yet undecided, we will be touring specifically on that album, but for now we're just trying to make a living as working artists.
Best thing about it's meeting new people, seeing new cities, doing stuff like this. It's a lot of fun, playing on a new stage every night, it's great. The worst part's probably just being away from everyone back home, being away from friends and family. And we spend a lot of time in the van, which gets kind of old.
Yet another awesome band that we've seen. That performance looks so fun.
It's always great to interview such energetic musicians. We'll look at some more great music soon with Jack on the Rundown.
That's right, so stay tuned right after this short break. And we are back, everyone.
But not for long. We're going to check in with some of the latest and greatest music with Jack on the Rundown.
Take it away, Jack.
Hey everyone, Jack Stern here, and let's get into another rundown of some cool new music. First up, I've got some underground hip-hop legends. Czarface has just released their new collab album with the elusive MF Doom. For the uninitiated, Czarface is a trio between Dark Horse Wu-Tang member Inspecta Deck and Boston duo 7L and Esoteric. They've been cranking out some really well-produced and eclectic stuff for a few years now, with a particular focus on superhero and comic book themed sampling. So it's only fitting that they pair up with the supervillain legend of underground hip-hop, MF Doom. In recent years, I've been reserved in my hype for new MF Doom projects, as he's become a little more inconsistent the more he's withdrawn from the spotlight. However, in many cases on this album, he brings that extra energy to the slurred punchlines that makes him so appealing. Inspecta Deck is also on point as usual here. The production in many cases steals the show though. The choirs on the main sample of Bomb Throne are just downright catchy, and the organ part is equally satisfying. Some of the beats get wallowed in muddy guitar parts, but for the most part the drum patterns are succinct and direct enough to carry the song. This was definitely an enjoyable album overall, and I'm glad that I could see this group of hip-hop veterans still on the grind. Now on to some more new school underground hip-hop artists. Jean Grae and Quell Chris, both very oddball rappers in their own respect, have come together for the second hip-hop collab album to be featured on the show today. Quell Chris was the one I was the most familiar with, as his 2017 album stood out the most to me as one of the most strange and subversive hip-hop projects I've heard in a while. Both rappers exist in the category of art rappers that have arisen in the internet age among contemporaries like Milo and Open Mike Eagle. However, quirky subject matter isn't the only thing that sets this album apart. Jean and Chris both deliver genuinely talented performances on just about every track here, from their varied flows to the complex rhyming schemes littered throughout their lyrics. The production also has these signature elements of lo-fi crunchy drums and deep bassy synths on a lot of the tracks. I was really impressed with the ingenuity on this album, and I can't recommend it enough for fans of more off-kilter hip-hop. Beach House has become one of the de facto bands in the niche dream pop genre. Originally based as an offshoot from the pedal effects and reverb-drenched shoegaze genre, bands like Beach House have elevated this niche, stretching the limits of the sound into new psychedelic territory, while still keeping a hook-driven thorough line in each track. Beach House hasn't released much new material since they dropped 2 albums in 2015. The duo's new songs have taken on a more expansive and layered feel. Dark Spring is a driving and atmospheric ballad, with one of the most satisfying verse-to-chorus progressions they've produced yet. Victoria Leland's work here on the chorus sounds great, and her lyrics about the colors missing amid the dark spring are a perfect lead into the harsher guitars that come in on the climax of the song. Beach House is consistently delivering the quality with this new track, and I'm really looking forward to how their new album turns out. Lastly, we've got the newest EP to come from R&B megastar The Weeknd. Now, I've been long disappointed with The Weeknd's recent output of music. Ever since he gave off a much darker and depressed persona on one of his first EPs, House of Balloons, I was intrigued by his graphic lyrics and most importantly his sultry falsetto voice. As his career progressed, The Weeknd has largely traded experimentation for appealing to the mainstream, going full-blown pop on his last album, Starboy. It seems The Weeknd has fallen on tough times recently amid the tabloid gossip about his former relationship with Selena Gomez. So cue a more somber and melancholy EP here with this new project. There's some elements about this short release that really surprised me, such as the small embellishments and the dreary but still pop-friendly production. Skrillex and Daft Punk were actually brought on here to help out with a lot of it. However, it's The Weeknd's boring and by-the-number lyrics that really sink this ship for me. He just doesn't really know how to fill out most of these songs in between their hooks without throwing out an occasionally corny and overly dramatic line. This EP will still be seen as a return to form for Weeknd fans though, I think, so look out for it on your radar if you fit into this category. And that is going to be it for this edition of The Rundown. Be sure to check out Lowdown for more music-related videos.
I can't wait to check out some more of those great music recommendations.
And next, Jeremiah is going to show us some performances from an open mic poetry night.
Akron students got the chance to speak out about sexual assault through this performance medium.
Here's Jeremiah with a look at the event.
My name is Felicia Rosen. I'm a senior at the university. I'm the president of a student organization called CASA, or the Coalition Against Sexual Assault. We're a student group on campus that raises awareness and provides education for students and supports survivors So I actually started the organization last fall. We got the ball rolling. We became an official organization last spring. So yeah, so we're actually a really small group. Right now it's only a handful of members of CASA. So we started planning for April. We were throwing ideas around way back in September just because this is kind of our big deal. We started planning events a little more seriously in January, and we kind of worked towards this month all semester. We don't do a lot of the events alone. We try to reach out to other groups and collaborate. So for the Pink Gloves event, we obviously reached out to the rec and asked if they'd be interested in hosting an event. We often team up with Greek Life because this is an issue that they tend to be pretty passionate about as well. And we get a lot of help from the Rape Crisis Center and our Dean of Students office. They team up with us a lot for several events. So April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We have a whole bunch of events going on this month. Today we actually have an event that's showcasing our fellow students and encouraging survivors to embrace their voice, which is the national theme for Sexual Assault Awareness Month this year. So we're going to have a poetry reading and invite Kanga Blue to come and perform a couple songs. Because the national theme for Sexual Assault Awareness Month this year is Embrace Your Voice, we were looking for ways that we could encourage survivors to step forward and embrace their voice and talk about their story. And that often comes out in artistic ways, so music, painting, story writing, poetry. And so we kind of went off of that and did a little online researching, and there's like a whole niche of poetry where people write poems and talk about sexual assault and their experiences, and they actually host like poetry slams across the country. So we kind of based it off of that. Tomorrow we have a boxing event. We teamed up with Pink Gloves Boxing to host a demo class where students and members of PGB can come and box and talk about empowerment and consent and sexual assault awareness. One of our larger events for the month is April 17th. We're actually inviting the founder of the Me Too movement to come and speak at our Take Back the Night event. So she's going to come and speak, and then she'll actually lead our Take Back the Night walk, which is going to be really neat.
Wow, I feel like that was quite the powerful event.
Yeah, it really takes some heart and bravery to be able to stand up and tell your story.
Really, but for now, what do we have next?
You'll just have to wait and see. We'll be back right after this commercial break.
And we're back, everyone.
And just in time to check out your video, right, Kurt?
Yep, hope you like jazz and blues because that's what this crew is all about.
Sounds like it was a fun time.
Trust me, it definitely was, but you gotta really see it to believe it. Let's check it out.
My name's Matt Garrett. I'm a 2015 graduate of the University of Akron. I play in the area. I have a couple of gigs that I play with some area R&B groups. I came up in Akron Public Schools and I played trumpet in the band in 5th grade. I got in with the guys at Akron U and was taking some lessons, and then I decided to go there and got my bachelor's there in jazz studies. Yeah, so I mean, it's been a part of my life since I was 10 years old, really. So my process always starts with listening. Above all else, I tell my students that if you're not listening to music, you're kind of missing the point. So a lot of it is intense listening for fun, just keeping it on in the car, at home, washing dishes, whatever. So my process starts with that, and then these days, I mean, there's rigorous practice just involved in keeping the trumpet working, but there's also, I do a lot of writing and transcribing of music that I hear on records. So it's really it's a lifestyle more so than it is like a 9-to-5 sort of situation. It's just I'm always constantly looking for the next thing. But it becomes easy if you love it. It's like it's an easy thing to wake up in the morning and practice and want to get better at it. But trumpet specifically, I mean, I love the evolution of the instrument. Going back, Louis Armstrong, very beginning, Roy Eldridge, the bop tradition. You got Miles, Dizzy. I love listening to Clifford Brown, Freddie Hubbard, Tom Harrell, those guys. I mean, just all through the 20th century, there was so much to be heard on that instrument. So I really loved studying the evolution and transcribing solos from those guys. It's the reason we all do what we do. It's there's nothing like getting in front of an audience and number one, showcasing all the hard work that you've done as a musician and putting a band together. It's not easy to get 10 guys in a room together to play your music, but probably the biggest benefit to me is connecting with somebody, even if it's one person in the audience. If they come up to you after the show, they say that was really moving. I really loved that one song, or I loved that one line that you played, or whatever it was. Like I think music, not to exclude other art forms, but music is really an unparalleled avenue to connecting people. So that's really that's the payoff. With trumpet, I mean, it's not quite like guitar or piano where you can play many notes at once and realize harmony. And also with those instruments, it's also possible to have your voice free to sing. I enjoy putting a group together like this and having the creative power to sort of figure out who plays what and work with texture and dynamics and all that. So not only is it something I think, trumpet is, it's down the line in priorities if you're going to put a band together. You need bass, you need some sort of chordal instrument, again, guitar, piano, probably a drummer or something like that. So, the smallest group you're often going to see a trumpet player or a sax player in is going to be a quartet, quintet setting. But I really love arranging for larger groups. So it's interesting. It's definitely it's endlessly fascinating.
Wow, talk about a great sound.
Honestly, and speaking of sound, doesn't that have something to do with our next package?
Yep, Tyrese went to the opening of the Sound Museum.
Wait, the what? Is that like a museum for historical sounds?
Not quite. You're just gonna have to check it out to see.
Great, let's take a look.
I first started putting this together about 3 years ago. It's taken us some time to round up everything, because a lot of these bands are not here in Akron. But no matter where they go, no matter where you go, you're always going to be from Akron, Ohio. So we've been trying to just gather up these memorabilia from all these different sources. The Devo and Chrissie Hynde Pretenders. Chrissie Hynde's no longer here either. She lives in France. So we try to get stuff from her and everything everywhere. People used to refer to it as the Akron Sound. But it was a bunch of different kinds of music. Devo was different from Tin Huey. Tin Huey was different from the Bizarros. The Bizarros were different from everybody else. It was just a hodgepodge of different things. It was rockabilly. It was everything. Every band wanted to do their own thing. So that's what it was all about. It's about trying to recreate the Akron Sound. Myself, I was into rockabilly at the time. And like I said, it was that type of music that was every type of music that there is. You could be into rockabilly, you could dance to new wave, you could dance to punk. It didn't matter what you wanted to do. There was somebody here who was doing it. I was into rockabilly at the time. And like I said, it was that type of music that was every type of music that there is. The music scene is not what it used to be. There's still a lot of musicians here in Akron that are doing their own thing, like Zach Friedoff is here. There's a lot of bands that are still doing their own thing, but they're not the same thing. They're just kind of doing whatever they want to do and stuff. And you can go and see those bands, but they weren't the same as back then.
Wow, I gotta admit, this show really highlights all the cool undercover scenes in Akron.
I totally agree. But that's all the time we have to check them out for today.
Yep, don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ZTV Lowdown. I'm Kurt Rickardson.
And I'm Peyton Burkhammer, and we'll see you next time on The Lowdown.
This program was produced by ZTV at the University of Akron. To find out how you can make Emmy-winning media, visit the UA School of Communication online. ZTV. Make media. Make a difference.